Yeah, I'll just call the roll. So, India Beal.
I'm here. Sorry, step away for a sec.
Cliff Dossel.
I'm here.
David Finn.
Here.
Dara Silver.
Here.
Betsy Towns.
Here.
Elizabeth Rapetti.
Here.
Owens Daniels. He said he'd be here, so maybe he's running late. Jane Dabb.
Here.
Jennifer Finkel.
Here.
And then Jason Thiel. I do not see. Okay.
All right. Well, we'll call to order and make an approval of the summary of the minutes from last time. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, that's for April 6th. Do I have a second for that April 6th? No.
Second.
Thank you, Jane.
Who was that?
That was Jane.
Okay. And let's see, I guess we should call the roll. India. Yay or nay?
Yes, sorry, I'm back officially.
Sorry. You're out of reach, Cliff.
Yes.
David?
Yes.
David?
Yes, Kelly. I'm here.
All right, we're just going down for the vote. So that's a yes from David. Dara?
Yes.
Betsy?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And Jennifer?
Yes.
All right. So next up, we have Hassani Mitchell from the Community Development Department. Is that right, Hassani? And he is here to talk a little bit about this new side neighborhood project that could involve some public art. So take it away, Hassani.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Bennett. I am Hassani Mitchell, and I'm representing the Community Development Department for the City of Winston-Salem. Excuse me, my allergies are really kicking up today. My official title, my official role is the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative Project Manager. And the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative, it is an initiative between the City of Winston-Salem and the Housing Authority of Winston-Salem. Both the city and the Housing Authority are co-grantees of a Choice Implementation Grant. And the Choice Implementation Grant is to redevelop the Cleveland Avenue homes. And also there's an additional site in Northeast Winston-Salem. It's the Brown School Elementary site. And so the project encompasses funding to redevelop some distressed public housing. But the City of Winston-Salem, our part in the project is to do critical community improvements. And I'll talk a little bit about what those critical community improvements potentially could be. In speaking with Mr. Bennett, I did want to come and just talk to the commission about some ideas that we have pertaining to the Cleveland Avenue Choice Neighborhoods Initiative and what some of these potential critical community improvements could be, because we do have some funding inside of this grant to do some improvements to this specific neighborhood. And I'll talk a little bit about actually where this neighborhood is and So yeah, so through investments catalyzed by the Choice Neighborhoods Grant, the redeveloped Cleveland Avenue homes and the surrounding area, if you're familiar with Cleveland Avenue, Liberty Street, 14th Street, Cleveland Avenue, 12th Street, that particular area is the focal point of the project. And so through investments catalyzed by this grant, the residents should enjoy high quality residential choices. They should enjoy some improved amenities, obviously a redeveloped public housing unit. But the city of Winston-Salem, our goal is to identify what types of projects, what types of public art, gateways, placemaking initiatives need to go inside of this neighborhood as a part of this project. And so that particular task sits in community development led by myself. The types of projects that housing and urban development, which is what the grant comes out of. It comes out of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The types of projects that they will approve, they have to be physical, tangible projects. They have to be physical, tangible things that the community can touch, things that the community can see, high visible targets within this neighborhood. So we do know the Liberty Street corridor is going to be a focal point of some of the placemaking and some of the corridor improvements that we want to do. We have not identified what those will be, hence kind of teeing it up with this committee today, because this is a 6-year project. We're in year 2, so we have about 5 more years to complete the initiatives inside of this grant. But as I mentioned earlier, some of the activities that we want to do, this is a resident-led initiative. So any project, any placemaking, murals, public art, facade improvements, anything that we do under this initiative, it has to be resident-led. So it has to be approved by the residents. There is a level of engagement that has already taken place during the planning phase back in 2016, all the way up until really about 2020. So there's been some planning that's been going into this project. So now that the city and the housing authority have the green light to do the development of the neighborhood, as I stated earlier, the city, our portion is to do some placemaking, some murals, and we have the opportunity to do a broad range of things, but as it pertains to this committee, public art is something that we do want to incorporate. There are some gateways and some potential sites that have been identified. I'm throwing pretty much anything on the table, such as the Liberty Street water tank, things like that. But we do want to incorporate the culture. We do want to incorporate the history of this neighborhood because this is a predominantly African-American neighborhood. This is in the Northeast and the eastern side of town. And so there's a lot of history, there's a lot of culture. And so we do want to preserve that. And whatever projects that we do, from the streetscaping to the placemaking to the murals, public art, whatever it is that the neighborhood wants to see in this neighborhood as a part of this project. And so in speaking to Mr. Bennett, he did advise me that if it's, public art or, things that take place on city property or county property, it would involve this commission. So I'm here today just to bring the project to the committee, answer any questions. Like I said, 2021 is really an engagement year where we are really interfacing with the community to get a better understanding of what community improvements the community wants to see within this project area. And like I said, it's the Liberty Street corridor, it's 14th Street, it's Cleveland Avenue. That is our target area for the investments that we want to make. But yeah, I did want to just put this on the committee's radar as we move along because we do have about 5 more years to complete some of the initiatives that will be identified in this project. So I'm available to answer any questions if there are. I know that was a lot to absorb, but I'm available to answer any questions.
This is
I have a
Darcy.
question.
Oh, go ahead. for you, Hassani. You said the term placemaking and murals several times. I know what a mural is, but what do you mean by placemaking?
So essentially, this neighborhood has not enjoyed the proper investment over time. There's some historical aspects. There's Highway 52 that has pretty much divided this neighborhood from the rest of the city. And so what we want to do is to be able to identify what are areas in the neighborhood, whether it's green spaces, what are areas in the neighborhood that we can target investment to where people can gather, to where we can use these funds to catalyze other funds for the proper investment to come into this neighborhood. So when you think about your neighborhood, what are the things that make your neighborhood special? Who are the people in your neighborhood that help make that neighborhood what it is? And so we want to highlight those things, as well as do, some business facade improvements. And we have to go above and beyond what the city would already do. And so the cool thing about the Choice Neighborhoods project is if the city is already doing street lights and painting bus stops, we can't do that. We have to go above and beyond things that the city of Winston-Salem is already doing.
This is Dara Silver. I think this sounds fabulous and a wonderful way to engage in community. A good example of creative placemaking was the Black Lives Matter mural in front of City Hall. We created, from the Arts Council standpoint, working with grassroots organizers, we were able to create place, which we normally wouldn't think of as a gathering place. And I think this project in this area, working with the culture, the history, this sounds like a fabulous project. Thank you so much.
I agree. I wanted to ask Hassani, in terms of I'm just trying to think about location, like Colonial Place, right? The apartment complex, which I believe is privately owned. Would that, and that's been around since Jesus was a little boy, forever, So would that be renovated? Is that a part of, would you all be changing those areas that are also privately owned? Would those owners be also involved in updating and putting investment into those properties as well?
Well, the whole idea behind this project is to, one, redevelop Cleveland Avenue homes, build a new multifamily site on the old Brown School Elementary site, which is on 12th Street, right across from Shiloh Baptist Church. So right behind that, you have the Career Center, you have Colony Place. And so we want to think creatively, how can we connect as you drive into this community? How can we connect a gateway, from private, if it's private property, if it's green space, how can we, form a gateway as you drive into this community that identifies that this is a community, it's more than just public housing. And so Colony Place is not a part of the development, but it is inside of the project area, if that makes sense. So any space that can be a gateway, anything that can signify this is a community and we're trying to connect it to other parts surrounding that are developed. So I'll just say Innovation Quarters right down the street. So how can we connect this community via a gateway, via some place-making tool to where they're incorporated?
Would this include 25th Street? Am I going further? With this, are they renovating the brick buildings of the public housing that's already there in terms of over near 25th Street, 28th Street, that area too? Are those going to be renovated? I'm just kind of curious.
So the Cleveland Avenue homes, which is actually on Cleveland Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those will be demolished and then rebuilt.
Okay.
The actual Choice Neighborhoods project area goes all the way up to 25th Street.
Yeah.
But it does not include, there's another housing development on 25th Street called Piedmont Circle. It does not include Piedmont Circle.
Okay.
It's exclusive to the Cleveland Avenue homes, the entire Cleveland Avenue street, Liberty Street, 14th Street, that entire area.
Will they do the same things they did in Happy Hill Gardens? Is it going to be similar new homes like those, like the ones over in the Happy Hill Gardens area? Is it the same kind of?
The concept is the same. There is a developer that the Housing Authority has actually contracted. So they're actively working with the residents right now to formulate the designs, what the housing is going to look like, because the entire initiative is resident-led. So we want to incorporate the residents in which is really what the neighborhood's going to look like. There's a team actually on the ground right now inside of Cleveland Avenue Homes. They're doing a lot of human services and referring the residents and helping them with relocation once that starts. And so there's different partners that are involved in the plan. And so the city, our role is to ensure that once the housing is built, that we put the proper investment and development around that housing. So the people, if they choose to move back in, they can thrive. We don't want to just build new housing, but don't put anything around that housing that really signifies that this is a community. And so we know housing and urban development, we know that they find public art, green spaces, gateway, they find these things favorable. And so we do have to submit a plan so they can approve what projects we will do over the next 5 years. And so that's really where we are right now, is engaging the community, engaging boards and commissions like this to really flush out, what does the community want to see? Once the new housing is torn down, once it's built, what can we put around that to really spark the proper investment for this neighborhood? And so we know public art is going to be a part of that.
This sounds like a field trip. Like, we need to see this. Like, we're all visual folks, and so it sounds like we should do like a little, if you're open to it, like maybe a walking tour, where we can actually like go and like physically see some of these spaces, because I think you'll have a whole nother experience than actually, talking about it. If you're open to it, I would love to do a little walking tour, of the area.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, it's a fairly large area, I will say that. Like I said, it spans all the way from 25th Street all the way down to 3rd Street inside of Innovation Quarter. So, I mean, you wouldn't be able to walk it, but
walk and drive it tour,
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a suggestion. I like the way that you're thinking about this. It really sounds exciting. I think you've got a lot of great ideas, and the community involvement piece is going to be really fantastic. There might be a process that to sort of, after we do our walkthrough or our drive-through, which I also think is a great idea, but the idea maybe of having a charrette where we have a big, really large-scale meeting with anyone that wants to walk into this, where we have maps and we have, ways for people to suggest and to have big whiteboards so that people can draw and make comments, so that we start out with getting a lot of involvement. And then, and that could be a starting point for getting ideas about sites and getting ideas about what kind of amenities people are interested from the area in having. Because I think the most significant thing is getting a really broad-based group of people that will participate in making the design.
No, that's exactly what we need. We're doing engagement right now on some other initiatives as a part of the project on the business improvement side. But when it comes to, placemaking, the art, murals, installations, where they would possibly be, what are the ideas? We definitely need a broader level of community engagement from the neighborhood at large to really pull out, what those ideas would be. Initially the architect they've identified a couple of gateways as ideas, but like I said, nothing is really final until we get the green light from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on what we're going to do. So right now, everything's on the table, anything's possible, and so we really just want to flesh out, what are the best opportunities.
Are there any plans or any, I was going to ask if there's any plans or even like the whole scope of work, any renderings at this point? Is there anything that you could share with us?
I have renderings that were created during the planning phase. Those are actually being finalized right now as the developer is getting ready to start on phase 1, which is going to start next year. So the renderings that I can share, they are not the final renderings. I do have maps of the neighborhood, maps of the actual Choice Neighborhoods project area that I'm more than happy to share with everybody.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do you want to try to share them during this meeting, or do you want to?
Well, yeah, why not?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is just an aside, with the homes that will be demolished, will anything be preserved? Like some of those homes are brick, right? Will any of the actual, some of those homes have been there I'm from Winston, I'm very local. So will any of the homes that are over there that have been there for a long time, will anything be preserved in the demolishing of the homes that are already there? Like, have y'all considered that?
Well, the only thing that's going to be demolished is the existing Cleveland Avenue homes, the public housing site.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's going to be demolished.
Okay. So
yeah, but it's going to be rebuilt in 5 phases. So as a section of homes is demolished, the residents will relocate, they'll rebuild it, and then they'll move back in, and then they'll move to the next phase.
Okay.
I will share my screen really quickly if you all want to actually see the actual location of this project. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes.
All right, so this is a map. Let me make it a little bit bigger. There we go. This is a map of the Choice Neighborhoods project area. And so the 2 boxes in purple, the larger square box is the existing Cleveland Avenue home site. The smaller square in purple is the Brown School Elementary site, which is going to be phase 1. The light purple area is the Choice Neighborhoods footprint. It's the Choice Neighborhoods project area. So you have 25th Street on the north, you have Patterson Avenue on the west. It goes all the way down to 3rd Street inside of Innovation Quarter. And then on the east, you have Cleveland, you have Fowle Street, Dunleith, and Jackson Avenue. And so this is the entire Choice Neighborhoods footprint. The focus point, obviously, you have a lot of commercial businesses on Liberty Street, right behind the neighborhood. You have some activity on 14th Street. And then, of course, you have Cleveland Avenue, which runs all the way from 25th Street all the way down to 3rd Street. And so, we want to engage the community to really understand, what are some high target areas? What are the great places for a gateway, coming into the community? Can we establish, possibly 2 gateways as you drive into this community? What are some areas that we could possibly do some streetscapes or some murals or highlight, prominent individuals that come out of this neighborhood? Those are the types of ideas that we want to flush out. And I have interactive maps, the GIS maps. I have, more information as well.
Hassani, what is a mixture of aging single-family homes, many which are rental?
So essentially, this particular project area, there's a lot of single-family homes in the northeastern corner, like 25th Street, 24th Street, 23rd Street. You have a lot of single-family homes. A lot of these homes are not owner-occupied, so some of them are rental units, and they are aging. So this is a really older neighborhood. Obviously, you have a 60-year-old housing development, which is Cleveland Avenue Homes, And then in the northeastern corner, you have a lot of single family older homes.
So will those be renovated as well?
So right now we're trying to determine what projects, what programs can we possibly do under this grant. If we can do a program that has, you know, facade improvements or do grants to help homeowners, you know, improve the exterior of their homes, you know, we're flushing that out if that's going to be a possibility as well. Because obviously when you build a new apartment, multifamily complex, it's going to look gorgeous, but we want the surrounding area to match that.
Yeah.
And we want that proper investment to come into this neighborhood after this new multifamily site is built. So we don't want it to be where you have a beautiful apartment complex, you have these two new sites, but then everything around it, we haven't touched.
Right.
And so hence we want to be able to use these funds to spark, you know, we're not gonna be able to improve everything,
Yeah.
but if we can use these funds to spark the necessary investment, along with, you know, private partners as well, private funds and partnerships and things, we want to be able to spark the necessary investment to match what these multifamily houses is going to look like.
Yeah.
It looks like you have a lot of territory. You could do projects in. I mean, you could, like phase one, start with some kind of lowball things like, you know, traffic calming murals and bespoke crosswalks, you know, those painted areas. And I think one of the things that was brought up in the chats, the Brown School area, from one of the comments was that used to be a baseball field. So, I mean, that's good for some of that local history realization. Is another good project too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, definitely the low-hanging fruit. You know, things that, and if you all were to visit the neighborhood, you know, things that visibly just stand out. You know, what are some win-win-wins where if we could kind of knock out two initiatives at one time? You know, those are the types of the creative projects that we want to bring to the surface.
And you say there's a water tower?
Well, I kind of juggled this idea with Kelly. I was watching, I think he had presented the public art initiative to council a few weeks back. And there was a picture of the Liberty Street water tank in that presentation. And I was just talking with somebody saying, wouldn't it be cool if we could paint the Liberty Street water tank on Liberty Street, because it's going to be facing the new housing. It's right off 52. There's a lot of visibility. And personally, you know, I think it would be cool if we painted it with some culture to honor this neighborhood. So that's my wish list. You know, that's something that I wish we can do if it's possible. I'd love to flush that out and see if we could do that.
I just, well, thank you, first of all, Mr. Mitchell. This sounds like a really exciting project. And I echo so much of what others have said here about bringing up the history and thinking through what's there in the neighborhood. And I'd love to do the walking, driving tour because it seems like there is a lot happening here. And often like parks will reveal themselves as places that, you know, that some of the history might be brought forward, or some, you know, some kind of multiple wins can be brought forward. I'm thinking about, Kelly probably remembers, I don't know if anybody else was on the project that we were working on with Council Member Scipio at Rupert Bell. Like, I see that that's not on this area, but at Rupert Bell Park, where the basketball parks are, we were talking about like doing like painted elements that would, you know, sort of teach the, like some of the history of basketball in the city, some of the like physics of basketball, like turn what exists there into a learning and experience, and like just further animating the what's already a great feature of the neighborhood. So I'm excited to visit and explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can definitely coordinate that. I'll definitely coordinate with Mr. Bennett on how we can make that happen.
Well, I'm really excited. There's so much rich history over there. And I'm so excited that Winston-Salem is doing this. Like, I'm just echoing what Dara said earlier. Like, it's so wonderful that it's happening. And just so many great memories. Like, Cleveland Avenue Christian Church used to be over there. There was like late night basketball games, and just there's a lot of rich history in that area that I think can be captured through art.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Winston-Salem native myself, and so I actually came back to the city to work on this project because I was gone for a couple of years. And when this opportunity became available, I definitely wanted to be a part of it because the northeastern side, the eastern side of that particular area of town, it's lacked the proper investment. So if we do this right, redeveloping the housing units, but also putting some catalyzing projects in place, hopefully we can attract the proper investment. And keep in mind, this particular initiative, it's done all over the country. So the city of Winston-Salem, and the Housing Authority, we are a grantee, but there are several projects from several cities all over the country that have received Choice Neighborhoods implementation grants. So if you want to just Google that, Choice Neighborhoods implementation grants, it'll take you to HUD's website, and you'll be able to see cities all over the country that have received this same funding to redevelop neighborhoods, but also incorporate the necessary attractions, investments, placemaking, murals, green spaces to really supplement and stand up the new housing. So we're just following the lead, taking a look at other projects that are being done around the country, that folks that have received this same type of funding. But we really have to be resident-led. We have to engage the community. We have to get the buy-in on every project that we do.
Hassani, do you have a timeline I know it has to be done in 5 years, but what would be an ideal timeline to engage this group and come to them with different ideas and maybe start a process where we're looking for different artists?
No, that's a very good question. Right now, we have a time frame to submit a revised plan in September. And when I say a revised plan, we had some ideas of some things we wanted to do, and we submitted that initially, but they weren't approved, right? And so we have, our goal here in community development is to submit a plan to HUD in early September, early fall. That way we have a couple of months to kind of go back and forth and tweak it and revise it. So I would say late Q3 or early Q4 of this year is when we really want to submit some ideas to HUD, so that way we can start that conversation about what would work and what would not work.
So you submitted some ideas and they weren't approved just because?
They weren't approved because HUD came and did a tour of the neighborhood, and obviously they saw just some things that really didn't align with some of the ideas that the city had brought forth initially. Some of those ideas were like an innovation space and a business center. And so, we had to go back to square one, which is where we are now, re-engaging the community, flushing out, how can we better incorporate? What are the needs of the community? We know, there's crime, there's literacy rates, there's the housing issue, so what can we put in the neighborhood that's gonna not fix it, but address it? Because we can't fix it in 5 years. I mean, we're being realistic here.
Okay.
So Betsy put in the chat, which I think is interesting, is gentrification also a worry there?
I do get a lot of questions regarding gentrification, particularly with this project, because we are tearing down a 60-year-old housing development and then rebuilding it. But in the course of that, you know, there are residents that have to relocate, right? So we do get that question, is this the start of gentrification on Cleveland Avenue? Is this the start on 14th Street? And my answer to that, just from having worked on the project, is that it's not. Although Innovation Quarter is right down the street, although, you know, we have a spotlight on Liberty Street, which leads you right into Innovation Quarter, this particular project is focused on making sure the residents, if anybody relocates, they do have the option to move back in, right? So they have first priority to move back in. So nobody is being told to leave and they can't come back, right? There is a certain level of low-income housing that's been set aside in this project. So a lot of people say, is this gentrification? My answer to that is no. It's really, we have an opportunity to redevelop a housing unit. If you're from Winston-Salem, you're very familiar with this project area. It needs some investment. And we have an opportunity here, if we do this right, to not only build new housing, but put the infrastructure around it so people have workforce development, so they have the proper tools to really come across Innovation Quarter, get a job in different corridors of town, and not really keep people siloed. And so my answer to that is no.
Will the homes be similar in price? Like, if people come back, like for instance, in Durham, it's a lot of gentrification happening, and they torn down a lot of properties and put up, like, they tore down $40,000 homes and put up $300,000 homes, right? And so the question is, will people be able to, you say come back, but can you afford to come back once the home has been renovated as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make it clear that everyone who's a resident of Cleveland Avenue Homes, they'll be able to come back and still afford to be a resident in Cleveland Avenue Homes. There is no single family homes that are being demolished. There's no single family residents that are being demolished, single family housing where people have to move. This is strictly a housing development that is being torn down because it's aged out, and HUD has given us the funding to rebuild it. In a nutshell, that's what it is.
Well, I hope this also encourages some of the private absentee owners to step up and, you know, actually do some things as well. Once this beautiful, you know, new structure is there, hopefully they'll be inspired to fix some of their places too.
Well, that's the idea, is that, you know, we want residents to take ownership of their neighborhood. And so, you know, if we put in the art, if we put in the gateways, if we provide facade improvement grants, you know, all of that is incorporated potentially in the funding that we have. So we have to be creative in what we do, because like I said, the whole idea is to spark, to your point, India, to spark the investment into the neighborhood, but people have to take ownership of it as well.
Well, thank you for coming back.
Thank you.
Anybody have any last questions for Hassani?
Well, I look forward to walking, riding, and seeing this area. I think that's a great way for us to keep involved. So maybe you and Kelly can work out a time for us to do that. That would be really fantastic. Thanks so much, Hassani, for being with us and bringing this to us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'll be in touch to talk about that tour. Okay. So next up, we have an item we started discussing last month, which is the Salem Parkway Bridge Yard. And since then, I had a meeting with Jeff Pamsler from Winston-Salem DOT, Kimberly Barb from Stimmel, and Greg Garrett and Milton Rhodes, who are on this call, just to kind of talk about this project. You'll remember it was $1.4 million of bond money for artwork along the bridges. And there were some questions just about the vision of the project and, just, how open a project this was, if we should be allowed to do murals, concentrating some art on, one bridge more than others. So having that meeting, sorry, my dog has decided to make a lot of noise behind me. I don't know if you can hear. So we had this meeting, and I just kind of wanted to give you a quick update. So project isn't as complicated as I first thought. As I said, the money's coming out of the 2018 bonds, and this process all predated the Public Art Commission. So the money that went into the bonds, kind of has a vision that went with it, and that was Creative Corridors had kind of come up with an idea for the Peters Creek Parkway Bridge. You might remember seeing that. It has like elements of a Moravian star that kind of creates a gateway look to it. And then they kind of broke it down to $200,000 per bridge for each bridge, with $16,000 per bridge for sculpture bases. So talking to DOT and Stimmel, it just sounds like the money needs to be divided up equally between the bridges. And I think they would like to get the bases installed in the fall. I think October is their most aggressive date. However, instead of the artwork kind of leading what kind of bases they're going to put in, the bases kind of need to lead the artwork, just based on the way the bonds were put together. They want to have, 4 pieces of sculpture at the corner of each, one piece at the corner of each bridge. So that makes 4 pieces of sculpture per bridge. And then the bases are just going to need to be put in to account for wind loads and things of that nature. So we don't need to have the artwork picked out before they start to put in the bases. So that kind of pushes the project out a little farther than I'd originally feared, which was that we needed to have artwork picked out by October. So I hope that wasn't all too confusing, but I can answer any questions if you'd like. Yes, David.
When you say bases, so I've looked at them at the bridges while I've been driving by, and I see a little stump of something that's part of the bridge that sticks out, okay? Usually the bridge has maybe 4 of those on each side. And I'm assuming that the bases, quote unquote, go on top of 4 of those. How much specifics do you know about these bases, Kelly?
I don't know any specifics yet. I mean, I think, they're looking at, sorry, what?
So another question is there electrical power to the four bases? This is a crucial question. And yeah. And there may be
I can't remember if there's, electric power, but I think there is. But that's something I can talk to them about. So electric power being crucial.
Kelly, I had the same question that David had about because I was looking at those little stump things, and I already thought the bases were in because of the stumps, but I could be wrong.
I don't think they are. I mean, they might be adding something to those stumps. Where are the stumps? Are they on top of the?
They're sticking out from the bridges. David is agreeing with that. They kind of come out.
I think those are for lights. I think those are for what? For lights. Light poles.
Okay, maybe there's some. Maybe we can get a hold of a drawing fairly soon to see what the deal is on where these are going. Are they on the inside of the guardrails of the bridges, or on the outside? I think you might be right.
I think they're going to be on. I think they're on like the sidewalk area. I think they'll be visible from the. They're not going to be hanging over the highway. I think what you're talking about, I'm pretty sure those are for light poles. But yeah, I will, as they become available, we saw some drawings, but these were from like the 2018 bonds that we looked at. So once they have some updated drawings, I will get them.
And do you know if it's the same dimensions? It's just sort of a standard base that they're using?
I think
for every single bridge?
I think it'll probably be the same.
Okay.
But these are things that are going to be worked out over the next 6 months or so.
And is the, so that's $200,000 per bridge, and do the 4 bases come out of that money? I'm assuming that would be the case as well, right? Is that just the total for?
No, it's $200,000 for the art, $16,000 for bases.
Okay. Okay.
So, if you're picking, I could see a scenario where it's 7 artists for each of the bridges, or maybe 6 artists, and Stimmel and DOT build the creative corridors vision of the Moravian Star pieces on the Peters Creek Parkway Bridge. So that's kind of all drawn out. And then we're left with 6 bridges, $200,000 each, 4 similar or sculptures for each bridge, $50,000 per. Seems like you could get something of substance for that price. But more details to come. That was that was just kind of an initial meeting to kind of gather some information and just make sure that we weren't needing to have an artist call this week for this project.
Yeah, that's sort of one of my questions. It's like I feel suddenly panicked by this project, and I don't want us to feel that way. So, how soon do we need to put a call out to artists so that we can coordinate maybe the pedestals or the whatever they're going to make with the art? Or something seems to be going too early compared to what I feel like should be happening. So that's,
yeah.
Did that make sense?
I've got a couple emails out, and I will, I'll hopefully have a stronger update next month, timeline and stuff like that.
Are all the bridges, does DOT have oversight or control over all those bridges, or just does the city have some control? Who controls what the footprint's going to be for these, and the design of the pedestals and the possibilities? What are the potentials for these? That's what we need to know, Kelly, because it may be very different for the bridge depending on whether the state or the city has control over them. So.
Yeah, so the state right away, I believe, is on Cherry and Marshall, are both state roads. And the state kind of heart commission in the sense of this group, but it's state staff that will kind of review a project to make sure it's not too reflective or dangerous for state roadway standards. So the Cherry, at least the Cherry Marshall, would have to go through a process like that. But I'll have more updates from our local DOT people as they emerge.
So for now, do we just kind of need to have our eyes and ears open and be thinking about the future of the project and be noticing the bridges as we move through the city, or is there anything else we need to be doing at this point?
No, nothing right now.
I think just looking at,
I'm going to have some more.
I think just looking at a lot of bridges and looking at what people have done on bridges. I mean, it's a very constrained kind of thing. And just sort of, there are going to be some severe constraints on this, I would say. But also possibilities. So I think we should think about this and look at them and, I don't know, walk over some of those bridges too, instead of just driving underneath them, the way I do all the time. I don't know how many people are going to walk over them, but yeah. So just a little bit of panic, right, Kobe? I mean, right, Kelly? Not too much, just a little.
Just a little bit of panic. I'm much less panicked than I was at the April meeting. Because that was when I got the phone call, like, oh, we got this project, and oh, by the way, it needs to be done in October. So that seems not to be the case.
Okay.
I'm happy to move on to project reports if you want. All right. Winston-Salem portrait project is done. Yay. So hopefully you've all had a chance to get out to at least Winston Square Park and see the sculpture, and definitely see the temporary exhibit that's there. It'll be there through mid-August. And these are all the images. So the portrait project are the images that the artists took of all these Winston-Salem residents. And the temporary exhibit are cubes that they use from the Photoville exhibit in New York, and it's a vinyl printing of portraits that the participants took of each other. And I wish it could stay. I wish it could stay permanent. It's a great companion to the sculpture. And then you can get around town and see all of the murals, the 2D pieces, the 8 pieces around town, because they look great.
And I'm just going to be the world's most horrible person and say, is it over? Is it finished? The reason I say that is that this project that Owens and I are working on, President Absence, the current question about it is, how do we keep it alive after we install the artwork? And how do we keep people, make sure that, the goal of the portrait project, building bridges, creating community, creating connections, that I don't have any suggestions or solutions in this moment, but it does seem like that project has goals that are so critical today to our community and has power, just like everything that you're saying about the project, Kelly, and how meaningful it is to walk through the portraits right now. Like, it seems really important to keep energy moving toward that project. I'm super excited. I'm taking a class there on Thursday, and it'll be really interesting to hear their new insights about how the project works for them. But it's just a mean way of saying, like, maybe when the work is finished, the work isn't really finished, and that the job that you've been doing, Kelly, to lead on the public art map and to think through how work can have a life in the city after it exists. I mean, the otter becoming part of a contest, that's cool that the otter became, energized again several years later. And that it seems like anytime we think of ideas of ways that work that exists can continue to do, to act on us and to move us, seems really valuable for us to think about.
Yeah, and Keisha and Jasmine, told the participants, try to make Winston Square Park a place where you can have events this summer. So somebody is trying to put together a fashion show, I believe. One of the participants there. They're going to try to get together and use that network that they formed citywide to just reach out to people. So the next project is the Bloomberg Asphalt Art Grant. This is something that we submitted in 2019, or maybe it was early 2020, for asphalt art, artistic crosswalks on the Strollway, and put together a group including several people here, Arts Council, Creative Corridors, DOT, to submit the grant again. This time it concentrates more on community outreach and connecting neighborhoods. So we submitted the grant on April 30th, and it would make artistic crosswalks where the Strollway crosses Salem Avenue on the south, Brookstown Avenue, and then First Street. So probably hear about that in several months, whether we got that grant. The public art plan, going to be presenting that to the county commissioners on May 20th in the afternoon. This is, their process has 3 presentations, so first and second reading, and then a final reading. So it'll go May 20th, May 27th, and June 3rd to the county commissioners. Downtown sculpture. So we've been meeting with Mona King, the designer, her fabrication team, and the developer, the Grub Properties developer, kind of figure out placement of the sculpture. and any other details. And there, we kind of anticipated that there would be some design tweaks with this once Mona got together with her fabricators, once they discovered the reality of, metal costs, etc. So I think the sculpture is going through some design tweaks, but we'll have some updates on that soon. Our COVID memorial group met, came up with a good vision for some temporary artwork combined with an event for people to participate in. We don't know exactly what either of these pieces will look like, but the temporary artwork could be, a representation of the number of people who we've lost in Forsyth County. And the event could be, like some kind of relay for life, some kind of walk, some kind of event where people write something or put a flag in the ground to remember someone or something that they lost as part of this pandemic. Betsy and Dara have been part of this. I don't know if either of you wanna jump in if that worked or not, but if you have anything to add.
Just one point that there was conversation after the fact about, this is important and people having something permanent as part of this is something that it seems like in the email chat afterwards, people were really supportive of. And so if y'all come across images or ideas about memorials, particularly COVID memorials, but other, and ways to sustain the care and love and memory, I guess send them to Dara and Kelly and me.
Thanks, Betsy. Jukebox therapy. I think we mentioned last time the city attorney was having problems with this project. We've sent her on to the Innovation Corridor to see if we can get her with maybe set up on the Long Branch Trail, which is privately owned by the Innovation Corridor. I haven't heard any updates on that, but I'll let you know if I do. Artistic bus shelters, our historic resources staff with the city has done a bang-up job kind of compiling and pointing the way on a lot of history that we could tie to different locations for bus shelters. And so our group is going to take a look at that next week and hopefully pick out some shelters to pursue for historic art. Merschel Park. This is a project that came to us a couple of years ago. We had a big fiasco of an artist search that found an artist that didn't meet the needs of the city at the time in the end. And then it got paused because one of Merschel died, and then we had the pandemic and the park was not being built. Apparently the park is going to be built sometime soon. And the city, maybe Jason can give us a little insight into this. But I believe the city is just going to partner with the Downtown Partnership or some people who are going to donate large sums of money to the project for art. But it's something that the Public Art Commission is probably not going to handle. You know, we have a lot of projects going on right now, so maybe that's a good thing. But that's where we stand now. I don't know if you have anything to add, Jason, if I've misstated. Okay. And the memory wall, look at nothing new to report there. Probably just spring, summer start on the memory wall. So that was a big long roundup. Anybody have any questions on any of those?
So what is the story on Marshall Park? We're sort of going kind of quickly over that, which was going to be a major piece and a lot of visibility.
Yeah. Jason, you have any insight on this one?
Not yet, but the city manager probably would set up a time to present to the Arts Council or to the Arts Commission. But I'm not prepared to do that. But I would just refer that question to the city manager, and then they can answer it. But for the public art component and the park itself, you'll start to hear more about that. But I think that's a question that you should ask them.
Okay. That's all I know. So apparently it's just being done through other channels. So I don't have much more information than that.
Kelly, this is Dara. I just wanted to thank you for your work, especially with the Bloomberg Art Grant, as well as juggling all of these other projects. So
certainly. Have a lot of dog barking here. Thanks, Sarah.
I'll second that. It's really a lot of things going on, and I'm glad there's nothing to really panic about right now, but it looks like we've got work coming up. So that's good as long as it doesn't stress me out too much.
Thank you.
We have a public comment period coming up. Any questions or more questions about the project reports? Let me just add about the jukebox therapy, Rhythm Badal's playlist that would play, that was nixed by the city attorneys and wasn't followed through by the person at the Long Branch Trail. So she actually has her honors defense thesis on Thursday, and she, I think, did the fastest public art project in history in doing this in about 2 months. But then, just as she was about to cross the finish line, you know, she got the news that the lawyers had done their work on it. So it's a great learning experience, a great learning for all of us, for myself as well. And, you know, who knew that this would be a problematic thing? So, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody, and I'm pretty confident that she is going, her project was able to pivot, and it's going to be a really good project. So she's using different spaces, nothing that is really a public space though, and that is really what she wanted. That would have been good. So thanks, Kelly, for your work on that. That was very generous of you, and thanks for everybody that was involved with that.
Sure. We did we did all the work on it except in the installation, which is unfortunate, but it was a learning experience for me as well. Just more things to watch out for. I'm kind of curious about the details on one of our bus shelters. Had some community back and forth in it where people were allowed to put up different messages and stuff like that. I don't know if that would have been a problem if it was looked at closer, but that ship has sailed. So yeah, we have a lot of projects in the air right now, but hopefully we can move through them all in an orderly manner, and get through this. Does anybody have anything else? I know if Greg or Milton, you want to say anything on the public comment period, or if you're just here for the Salem Parkway discussion.
Milton, if you have something to say, unmute yourself. I see you're talking. There you go.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, I just am so impressed with what all is happening now. It's just been a long time coming. And David and Greg Arrett and Jane Dabb and others, I mean, it's amazing how long we've been trying to get to the point where you get $1,500,000 grant for public art on a highway. Come on. When, David? Ever? I think it's the largest grant for art we've ever had. Huh? So, I mean, yes, there is a panic, damn it, but the challenge is so many of them tie together. The ones that butt up on Martin Luther King, which is outside of the area that this $1.5 million is for. I mean, that is a huge opportunity with Cleveland Avenue and Martin Luther King and the Innovation Quarter, who has access to more dollars than any of us ever dreamed of having, but every bit of it could be matched. Every bit of it could be matched. And there are people all along the way that have been crying for this for a long, long time. And I'm just so impressed with the stick-to-itiveness of some of you, David. When we moved to town in 2004 or 5 or 6, something like that, Walmart, because of Glennis Jordan's work on developing big box guidelines for any community they come into, we were able to get $94,000 from Walmart to place a Brad, what was his last name? Brad Evans brick sculpture piece at the entrance to Walmart, and then the guy from Greensboro named Carlucci came and got involved with him and developed a huge piece. And then there's so much more before that, but it was destroyed, or the recreation department didn't respect it enough, so they tore it down, or the building was torn down where the Frank Faulkner piece was put together in the 1970s. And it's just amazing to see how you can move a city toward a public art focus in this generous time now coming out of the pandemic, and the stock market's huge, and the infrastructure is coming down. That's just amazing to see how it all comes together. And Kelly, you've done a great job putting it together, and you're a very patient person. I'm so pleased to see it. And the committee is good. That come good group, asking the right questions. But don't let the damn city attorney tell you what you can do and what you can't do. I mean, you got to go to her and ask her now, what will you allow?
I know Meredith is here listening to all of this. I know that. Hi, Meredith. Milton, thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You worked so hard as the Arts Council leader to get this stuff going. It was a long, long haul. And I know, a bunch of you were involved in the beginnings when we thought it would just never happen. So there's a lot of gratitude to go around. Greg, see you hanging there in the background. Do you have any comments?
Good afternoon, everyone. No, I don't have any specific comments. I saw Kelly looking out the window because our neighborhood's getting blitzed by a pretty violent storm right now. So that's what I've been doing too, is looking outside, make sure there's no trees falling through the house here. But no, I made a couple comments in your chat box and try to contribute a little bit, but I'm very much interested in art on Salem Parkway and having that component of the Creative Corridors Coalition be implemented along with Milton. And, I'm really excited about that. Also, the Martin Luther King Jr. Drive Streetscape project. That project doesn't seem to get much publicity or recognition, and has been creeping along for well over a decade now. And I think the city has finally gotten some approvals to be able to advance the project. And so I think now is a time to at least talk about maybe some artistic components that can be part of that streetscape project that goes from Business 40 or Salem Parkway over to US 52. So including an artistic type of bus shelter and some other components that Creative Corridors has in their master plan. But I'm very excited about that project, and hopefully maybe it could be linked to what Hassani was saying earlier. It falls partially within that study area over in East Winston along Cleveland Avenue. And so I hope you all will discuss and consider possible art components for the MLK streetscape projects as well. So I just wanted to toss that out there.
Thanks, Greg. I mean, that is an ongoing project, and I think maybe we could get more of an update for where that is, and if there's anything that we need to help with there, that would be great. And we'll keep in mind tying that together with the New Side Neighborhood Parkway, the Cleveland Avenue project too.
All right. Does anybody have anything else before we wrap up?
Maybe not. Maybe we're finishing 5 minutes early.
Ellie's dog has something to say, but I don't know what it is.
The dog. I didn't think the dog would be a problem. I'm with my daughter for 2 weeks now. So her school closed again, so I thought she would be in here, but TV has mollified her.
Kelly, I wanted to ask you the More Art Walk. What is that happening this Sunday?
That is it's like a kind of a arts and crafts fair.
Oh, there.
It's pretty big.
I picked this.
Popular.
Yeah, I actually picked this up at the Arts Council.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't they have one last November?
It may have. It was very successful. I know I went, and they had several different artists set up in people's yards. There's several artists that live in that area anyways. I know there's supposed to be like 25 musicians playing this time. So it should be a great event, and it's a great chance to purchase some artwork.
Yeah, I thought I'd check it out. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And Kelly, you live in Ardmore, right?
No, I'm in Washington Park. So,
Washington Park, yeah. Who lives in Ardmore? Does anybody live in Ardmore?
Not anymore.
You're muted.
Lives in Ardmore anymore.
I'll be in my yard if you want to come by.
Nice. Nice.
All right, everybody.
Okay, till next time, we'll have some more drawings and more things to look at. Maybe some more specifics. That would be great. So we can begin to figure out what we're going to have to do by October, right? Cool. Bye, everybody. Watch out for the thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Bye.
So long, everyone.